So let's get into it. Hey guys, my next guest is Silvia Christmann. She is actually in Mexico as we speak. And maybe can you give us a quick 30,000 foot view of your role and tell us about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. So I'm an executive coach. I've been doing this for, I don't know, time flies, since 2011.
Okay, yeah.
You do the math on that one. My background is working in technology firms and building technology companies. That's what I was doing prior to that. So my entire professional career I've spent in technology companies, building businesses and disrupting spaces with innovative technologies. And so when I switched over to executive coaching, I took over more of an advisory role of how to develop the leaders, founders within that, and how to build capacity within that space, because founders are not necessarily CEOs, and
Right.
knowing how to guide everybody to lead in the spaces. So I would say that for the majority of my professional career, I've been working at the forefront of innovation, and I work with a lot of millennial companies and have watched how they disrupt spaces and use technology to really improve data systems that were ripe for innovation. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we're looking at right now, and as the body shop industry, the virus has thrown a major wrench into people's operations. Insurance companies have come publicly and said, we now need you to be able to do photo assessments of damage. OEMs are now encouraging their shops to be able to deal with customers virtually and to be able to do remote and virtual estimates. What advice can you say to these people that are now forced into a position to pivot? The business model has changed literally in the last few days. What advice can you share with us that would help weather the storm?
Yeah, thank you. That's such a good question. I do want to say, not surprisingly, my clients right now had a really easy time transitioning because they're already set up on all of these virtual technology systems and platforms required in these times. And so I've been actually answering this question quite a lot, of what you can do and how to manage teams remotely now. So there's a couple of components to that. And it's how do we transition? How do we communicate virtually between our senior team members? And how do we get everybody on board? And I'm sure that many people, Zoom is a wonderful tool. Google Hangouts is a wonderful tool. Really getting on board with Slack is a little more complicated. So people and companies that have not used any of this previously might be a little too far. So what I would do to begin with is really switch over to Zoom and have your entire team check in every day on Zoom and have a virtual Zoom call with each other. So instead, that's the morning check-ins, everybody at work. Really, and then helps for various different reasons. It's for productivity purposes. People can have vital infinite conversations now, and you can have multiple people on the call, up to 100 or 500 people, depending on which subscription you use. But it also is really helpful to keep everybody sane, giving people who are now working at home the opportunity to keep their workspace and their personal space separate, and knowing when you clock in and knowing when you leave work. So being on Zoom and having virtual video calls is the first thing that I would encourage everybody to put into place, because trying to communicate all of this that needs to get done over the phone or email is redundant, difficult. The face-to-face quick conversation is so much more productive, and you want to keep everybody sane, productive, on board, and ready to roll. The other component to that, it's really, we've rolled this out in so many companies this past week. It's that it also gives you an opportunity to give people sort of guidelines of how to show up for work, which means still be on time. We're not working in our PJs. This is not like sleep in, spend your day in your PJs kind of time, because that also isn't good for your mental fitness. A lot of people are really struggling with anxiety right now, and making sure you're maintaining that, along with really basic remote working policies, is going to be very helpful, because you're preventing your team from spiraling into some sort of anxiety or depression. Because that's one thing we have to really consider. It's the human aspect of this isolation as much bringing in the technologies that help us actually roll this out effectively.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when it comes to these policies, I don't know if you want me to keep going.
Yeah, give
The
us some
policies.
ideas of you know, some guidelines, because you know, this is interesting stuff. Keep going.
Yeah, so the policies that we've across the board, each company is a little bit different, but really being very clear on what are your remote working policies for your workers right now. That's one, download Zoom. Maybe everybody has their 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., depending on your work hours. You know, millennials start at 10 a.m. I'm sure you guys are at 8 a.m.
Right. Come on now, stop calling me old. That's all good.
Just a guess, just a guess.
Yep, you got it. So
yeah, so your 8 a.m. call where everybody's expected to be on. We've really recommended people setting themselves up remotely in a space with a door. Noise canceling headphones alone aren't enough, you know, so it could be a closet, it can be a bathroom, get creative. Not everybody has a lot of space. Some of you might have this space, but having the ability to lock the door and be at work, you know, when you have your furry friends, your children, your spouses, your rest of the family running around, is super helpful. And I think in these times, nobody cares if the backdrop is your bathroom. It's more important that you can focus on your work. Because while we're moving digitally, you also need people who are doing it digitally focused on what needs to get done.
yeah.
So workspace protection, healthy boundaries, letting family know, you know, put a sticker on the door, like on call,
Yeah.
you know, at work, you know, and if you don't have that space, like use a Post-it, you know, put something around your computer that says, I am at work. I know, like this is our kitchen table, but this is my workspace. Or like a cardboard around, you know, built like a cardboard around it. We've had people set things up in the basement, you know, it has no windows, but it keeps other people out. And then just decorate the workspace so that you're really there. That's become a really big part of what we've been talking to clients about. Like, how do you set up this workspace remotely aside from the technologies that you're using? Because if you're constantly disrupted, the technology is not going to help you either. So the second.
Yeah. What is your anticipation? So, you know, here we are, we're embracing the virtual world. You know, a lot of analysts think that this has already changed our world forever. You know, the virus. And so do you anticipate that this is only going to be a stronger trend where people are like, hey, you know what, we figured out how to deal with people virtually now. How will this affect business in your purview? What do you think the future state of this is going to be? Will things go back to normal, or will things always now from this point forward be more digital?
I think it's going to be more digital. I think it's actually creating a big of a breakthrough for those reluctant to adapt flexible work hours, which is going to be very favorable for women in the workspace. I think there are a lot of things that are already changed, because now everybody that was reluctant to it has to adapt to it now and gets to experience it, and also gets to experience the positive and the upsides to it.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I like that. So as far as advice for, you know, some of us older timers out there, we've got Zoom coming into place so we can meet with our teams. What other things can we be doing to make it seamless for our customers, make it easy to do business in these times where we have to move to a more digital format?
Texting.
Well, now this texting you speak of, what is this here thing? Yeah. So yeah, there you go. Yeah. So texting obviously is going to be huge.
Yeah, we talked about this when we met at this conference a few weeks ago, and we talked about that too. Millennials right now, in 5 years' time, millennials will make 75% of the workforce and 46% of the U.S. income that they control. And so their habits are really important to understand if you want to adapt to the new reality. I think this virus has kind of fast-tracked us now. So if you were going to look at that same statistic now, it doesn't matter if you're in a millennial, you're going to have to adapt to that same lifestyle and habit, because this is what we're experiencing right now.
Yeah, so it's basically forced the generations that are older than the millennials to really embrace the millennial lifestyle where, hey, you know, I'm stuck at home. I have to find a way to deal with people virtually now.
Yeah, and it also doesn't have to be dreary, dreadful, isolating, or lonely.
Right.
You know, I mean, I got up this morning and I was at a virtual breakfast party, then I had a morning dance party, and then I was like, okay, I need a break, guys. It's a little much. But
then you came and hung out with this old geezer here who's asking you questions like, what's texting? So that's cool. That's awesome.
There's a way to socially connect to keep you, and which we do already as millennials. This was really easy transition, like platforms was set up, no worries there.
Yeah.
But also for businesses to really understand that millennials already do 75% of what they do via text, and that's on WhatsApp, really embracing, and you can do group chats, getting everybody on a group chat on WhatsApp. WhatsApp is easier than iMessage because you can reply to a specific question over just being in an endless thread. It's also one of the reasons Slack can be, I don't know if you're familiar with Slack, but Slack can be very helpful.
Use it here.
You have different channels set up for your company, using project management tools online, anything from Asana, Monday, there's so many of them.
Right. I think we use Trello for a lot of our projects.
Trello would be good for your industry. Yes, it's very technical and clean and organized.
Yeah. So there's lots of little platforms out there that can help keep things organized, keep connected with the customers. What are emerging channels that you're seeing? You obviously mentioned WhatsApp. We're seeing a lot more people, I think, really adopting WhatsApp. What other channels should we be aware of or think about as we move more into the digital realm?
Instagram.
Okay.
Blowing up right now. Everybody is live streaming, sharing conversations. That's for information flow, to share, where to reach people, to stay at the forefront, to be visible. That's where people are sharing a lot of free content socially and professionally. Yeah. I think it's been beautiful to watch, to see the overwhelming generosity of people staying connected, reaching out, giving help, giving advice, doing things that we're doing right now, trying to get as much information out to each other of how we can adapt to this new reality. And Instagram is a huge, big platform for that. Podcasts obviously are going out. And just for internal communication, just to go back to that, I wouldn't use WhatsApp. It's too complicated, but you can talk to customers that way. For internal communications, use something like Slack so you can organize communication channels. Because every organization has a structure. And whether that's hierarchical or flat, whichever way it is, there's a strategy around communication, right? Who talks to whom, why, when, and how. And doing that just in email is overwhelming. You can't always be in a video call, even though I would greatly encourage that. So use something like Slack as a technology tool that allows you to order and project management tools that allows you to have these communication channels in place that otherwise would be happening in person.
So I think one final question that I would push to you, because I know we're running a little bit close to the wire here. So, and you got a lot of exciting stuff to do in Mexico ahead of you yet today. So, but as far as reaching, one of the things now, a lot of shops have been dependent on customers coming into the shop to get an estimate, to create that initial communication. That's gone. And so you mentioned Instagram and different channels of connecting with customers. What can shops do to do an outreach to their community, to reach their customers in a digital channel, whether it's marketing or sending out a message? What are going to be the most popular channels now, and what's evolving?
I would do email if you have their information. If you can get texting, that depends where you're managing your contacts, but a lot of platforms allow you to send out text messages to people, saying, just giving them basic information. Being very mindful that we're not overloading people is important. And then there's definitely Instagram. Everybody's on Instagram right now, learning, sharing, and flipping through things. So just letting them know that here's how you get in touch. Should something happen to your car, this is how you get in touch with us virtually. And we're also, maintaining the highest standards of safety and security to make sure we're not putting our workers or you at risk. And here are the principle. If you share that over Instagram over and over again and invite people in to the new reality and ways that you are adapting, I've seen the less curated it is, the more people are believing you. This is not about curating it. This is about sharing. Nobody's trying to look good. This is about making sure we're all adapting quickly.
Yeah. So you don't have to have a production crew come in and make a big splash. Just, whip out your phone and say, hey, here's what we're doing at the body shop. And I think it's that community and that connection that people look for. I like that. That's good suggestion.
Yeah, especially because right now people It's like you need your car, you know, being able to do basic trips for those who are still allowed to move around.
Yeah.
Basic trips, should something happen, don't panic.
Right.
We have you, we got you, we're following these principles. This is how you send it to us before you even get here. These are the procedures that we're following that are within the guidelines right now. And that will be so helpful to people, because what you want is to make sure people know where to find you. So should something, you know, it's when something happens, they don't have to start looking there, you know where you are.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I think this has been very helpful and very insightful for a lot of our shops. I've learned some things here, so thank you for taking the time. I know, like I said, you're in Mexico, and we really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy lady, so thank you for doing this with us. And is there any last final thoughts in closing that you'd like to share?
No, I just wanted to put it out there. If you guys have questions, just feel free to reach out. I'm sure you, Ryan, can forward them to me. I'm happy to answer questions. I have some resources also available that we can share if you wanted to. We're here, you're here. We're here to just give everybody answers to the questions that we have. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you again for your advice, and hopefully everything goes well down there in Mexico. Enjoy your time. So
Yeah.
talk to you soon.